Most men spend years trying to say the right thing and lose her anyway. She wasn't looking for better words. She was waiting for one specific touch, the kind that bypasses logic, skips past her defenses, and speaks directly to something she can't explain or ignore. You clicked on the right video, because today you're getting the 7 touches that rewire how a woman feels about you. And the one most men completely miss is number 3. 1. The slow lower back guide. There is a touch so quietly powerful that women have described it as feeling chosen, and most men walk past the opportunity to use it every single day. When you place your hand on the small of a woman's back, while guiding her through a doorway, moving through a crowded room, or standing beside her at an event, something happens inside her nervous system that she cannot control and cannot fake. The lower back is one of the most nerve-dense areas on the human body, directly wired to the brain's emotional processing centers. And a slow, warm, confident hand placed there sends a signal that completely bypasses her logical mind. But here's where most men destroy the moment before it even begins. They either pat, which feels brotherly, almost dismissive, or they push, which feels controlling. Neither of those works. What works is the full palm, placed slowly, with steady warmth and just enough pressure to communicate one thing without words. I am here, and I am completely aware of you. That distinction matters more than you think. Her nervous system reads that specific pressure as safety. Her brain releases oxytocin. And emotionally, she begins associating your presence with calm, which for a mature woman is one of the most attractive things a man can offer. Because here's what nobody talks about. A woman who has carried herself through years of life, through hard seasons, difficult relationships, and long stretches of being her own support system. She is not looking for someone to impress her. She is looking for someone who makes her feel like she can finally exhale, like she does not have to be on guard right now, like the weight she carries everywhere does not have to come with her into this moment. That one hand, placed with quiet confidence on her lower back, communicates all of that, without a single word spoken. A woman once described it this way. She said a man placed his hand on her back while they walked into a restaurant, and for the first time in 15 years, she felt genuinely chosen. Not complimented, not pursued, chosen. There is a difference, and she felt it in her body before her mind could catch up. That is the level this touch operates on. And the men who understand it never have to try very hard after that, because she already feels something she cannot quite name, and she will spend the rest of the evening trying to figure out why. 2. The two-handed handhold. Most people think holding hands is romantic. It isn't. Not by itself. Teenagers hold hands at the mall. Strangers hold hands crossing the street. Holding hands alone means almost nothing. But what happens when you take her hand and then bring your other hands over to cradle it? Both of yours wrapped around one of hers. That is something else entirely. That is a gesture that grown women remember for years. Here is why it hits so differently.
When both of your hands are engaged with hers, her brain receives what psychologists call bilateral stimulation, a symmetrical sensory signal that her nervous system interprets as complete, undivided attention. Not partial attention, not one eye on her and one eye on your phone. Full presence. Embodied, deliberate, total focus on her. Therapists actually use this same bilateral touch principle in trauma recovery work because it signals to the brain on a neurological level, you are safe, you are seen. Nothing else is competing for this moment. And for a mature woman, that signal is almost shockingly rare. Think about how many years she has spent sitting across from someone who was physically there but mentally somewhere else entirely. His body at the dinner table, his mind already somewhere else. His arms around her, but his attention gone. She learned to read that absence without anyone telling her. She felt it in ways she never fully put into words. So when a man wraps both hands around hers with quiet warmth and actually looks at her while she's speaking, not waiting for his turn to talk, not glancing around the room, something inside her registers it immediately. Her brain doesn't just notice it, it marks it. There is no performance in this gesture, no grand speech, no expensive setting required. It works at a coffee shop, it works in a car, it works in the middle of an ordinary conversation about something completely unremarkable. Because the touch itself carries the message, and the message is simply this: right now, in this moment, there is nowhere else I would rather be, and nothing more important than what you are saying to me.
A mature woman has heard every compliment. She has been taken to every kind of restaurant. But a man who holds her hand with both of his and makes her feel like the only thing in the room, that man becomes very difficult to forget and even harder to replace. Nobody warns you about this one, and that's exactly why it works. There's a moment, rare and almost accidental, when two people stop talking, stop performing, stop trying to impress each other, and just exist in the same space. The forehead touch lives in that moment, and once a woman experiences it with you, something changes inside her that she can't quite explain to her friends over brunch the next morning. Here's what makes this so different from every other gesture on this list. It's not about pleasure. It's not about attraction. It's about something far more dangerous to a guarded woman: vulnerability. When you gently press your forehead against hers, eyes close naturally, breathing slows, the noise of the world just disappears. Two people sharing the same quiet. That kind of closeness cannot be manufactured, cannot be rushed, and absolutely cannot be faked.
Dr. Sue Johnson, one of the most respected relationship researchers alive, spent decades studying what she calls bonding moments. Those small, almost invisible interactions that activate the adult attachment system, the same system that first wired us to our mothers as infants. The forehead touch is one of the most powerful of these moments, precisely because it demands nothing. It doesn't escalate, it doesn't ask for anything in return. It simply says, right now, there is nowhere else I would rather be. And for a mature woman, a woman who has spent years building walls tall enough to keep the wrong people out, that message hits differently. She's heard "I'm here for you" 1,000 times from men who weren't, but she's never been able to argue with a forehead pressed gently against hers in complete silence. The men who pull this off, and pull it off genuinely, share one thing in common. They don't break the moment. They don't rush it into something else.
They don't laugh nervously because the intimacy suddenly feels too real. They just stay there, present, steady, unhurried. And to a woman who has spent years surrounded by men who were always somewhere else mentally, that stillness is nothing short of extraordinary. This is where most men fail without realizing it. They understand the gesture, but can't sit inside the silence long enough for it to land. The forehead touch doesn't work in 5 seconds. It works in the pause after the 5 seconds, when she realizes you're still there and you're not going anywhere. That's not romance. That's emotional intelligence. And she feels the difference immediately. 4. The back of the neck touch. There is a reason this one almost didn't make the list. Not because it's weak, but because it's almost too effective. The back of the neck. That small, seemingly ordinary patch of skin sitting right where her hair ends.
Most men walk right past it their entire lives without realizing they're ignoring one of the most psychologically loaded areas on the human body. Here's what makes it different from every other touch. The nape of the neck is packed with nerve endings, but more importantly, it's a place she cannot see and cannot easily protect. And that vulnerability is exactly what makes touching it so powerful. When someone reaches that area, her brain runs an instant, unconscious security check. Am I safe? Do I trust this person? Does this feel right? If the answer to all three is yes, and with the right man at the right moment, it will be. The response is almost immediate. Her breathing shifts, her body relaxes. Neurochemically, dopamine and oxytocin release at the same time, which is the exact combination responsible for romantic attachment. Most touches produce one or the other. This one triggers both simultaneously. That's not common. That's rare.
Now here's what separates a mature woman from someone with less experience.
A younger woman might feel the sensation without fully registering what it means. But a woman who has lived enough, loved enough, and been disappointed enough, she recognizes it instantly. She knows that touch requires confidence without aggression, desire without desperation, familiarity without assumption. And the moment she feels all three coming through one gentle placement of your hand, something inside her quietly decides you're different. But, and this is critical, timing destroys everything if you get it wrong. This isn't a touch you offer a woman you met 40 minutes ago. That's not intimacy, that's an overstep, and she will feel the difference immediately. This touch only works because trust already exists beneath it. It's a progression, not a shortcut.
It belongs in a moment that has already been building. A quiet conversation, a close exchange, a shared silence that neither of you wanted to break. When that moment arrives and your hand finds the back of her neck slowly, gently, with complete steadiness, she won't just feel it physically. She'll feel chosen, seen, desired in a way that doesn't demand anything from her in return. And for a woman who has spent years giving everything while receiving almost nothing, that feeling is everything.
5. the thumbstroke. This one is almost unfair to share, because once you understand what it does to a woman's brain, you will never look at a simple touch the same way again. You are already holding her hand. Maybe you are sitting beside her at dinner. Maybe you are watching something together. Maybe she just said something that made you reach over without thinking. And then, without drawing any attention to it, your thumb begins to move. Slow, rhythmic, back and forth across her skin.
You are not looking down at your hand. You are not making it a moment. You are just doing it naturally, almost absent-mindedly. And that is exactly why it destroys her. Science calls this the activation of C-tactile afferent nerve fibers. These are a specific class of nerves that exist for one purpose: to respond to slow, gentle, stroking touch. They are not activated by a firm grip or a quick pat, only by this, that slow, deliberate, barely there movement. And these nerves are wired directly into the part of the brain responsible for emotional intimacy and social bonding. Researchers at the University of Gothenburg confirmed it. This specific type of stroking activates the insular cortex, the region that generates feelings of closeness and emotional connection. So while you are sitting there talking about something completely ordinary, her brain is quietly registering something extraordinary. She feels closer to you. She does not know why. She cannot trace it back to anything specific. She just feels it. And here's where it gets really powerful. Because she does not consciously notice your thumb moving, she does not credit the gesture. Instead, she credits you. She thinks this is simply who you are. She thinks your warmth is effortless, your tenderness is natural, your affection is not performed for her benefit. It just exists. It is just part of you. That belief is more attractive than anything you could ever say out loud. A woman who has spent years surrounded by men who only showed affection when they wanted something. She feels that thumb stroke and something in her quietly shifts. Not dramatically, not all at once, but something moves, something softens. And the most dangerous part? She will remember it long after the night is over. Not because it was grand, but because it felt real. And real, for a woman who has seen everything else, is the rarest thing in the world. 6. The silent pull. Nobody teaches men this, but every woman remembers the moment it happened to her. You're sitting beside her, the movie is playing, or the conversation has drifted into comfortable silence. And without a single word, without asking permission, without making it a moment, you simply reach over and pull her closer. No announcement, no come here. Just your arm finding her and closing whatever distance existed between you, like it was always wrong that it was there at all. That's it. That's the whole thing. And yet, the emotional impact of that one wordless movement is something she will think about long after the night is over. Here's why it works on a level most men never consider. There's a concept in attachment psychology called proximity seeking, the instinctive drive in securely bonded people to reduce physical distance between themselves and someone they care about. When you pull her closer without being prompted, you're not just being affectionate. You're demonstrating through pure action that her nearness matters to you, that the space between you felt like too much and you did something about it. Words could never deliver that message as cleanly. Because words can be rehearsed. Words can be strategic. But a quiet, unhurried pull, that reads as instinct. And instinct doesn't lie. Now here's what makes this particularly powerful for a woman who has been through enough to know the difference. Many women, especially those who've carried a lot of life experience, have spent years in relationships where closeness was conditional, where affection only showed up when someone wanted something in return, where they had to perform, be agreeable enough, attractive enough, low maintenance enough, just to deserve a moment of warmth. So when a man pulls her close simply because the distance felt wrong, not because he's initiating anything, not because there's an audience watching, not because he's trying to impress her, it quietly dismantles something she built to protect herself. It tells her, without a single syllable, that she is wanted for her presence alone, not for what she provides, not for what she does, just for existing beside him. Watch what happens the next time you do this correctly. She doesn't stiffen, she doesn't pull away, she settles into you, and that exhale you'll feel, that small release of tension in her shoulders, that's not attraction, that's trust. And trust, in a woman who has guarded herself for years, is worth more than anything else you could possibly offer. 7. The long hold hug, 20+ seconds. Nobody warns you about how much a hug can change things. Not a quick squeeze, not the polite 2-second shoulder pat you give a coworker at the office. The real thing. Both arms, full chest contact, no rush, no exit strategy. Just presence. And here's what most men will never understand. 20 seconds is not just a number someone pulled out of thin air.
Research published in the journal Psychoneuroendocrinology found that hugs lasting 20 seconds or longer trigger a measurable oxytocin surge while simultaneously dropping cortisol, the hormone that keeps her body locked in stress mode. Her heart rate slows, her blood pressure drops, her nervous system physically shifts from guarded to open. You are not just making her feel good, you are chemically dismantling every wall she walked in with. This is exactly why relationship therapists actually prescribe extended holding to couples sitting on the edge of falling apart. Dr. John Gottman, whose research on relationships spans 4 decades, identified prolonged physical holding as one of the most reliable tools for rebuilding emotional trust. Not date nights, not communication exercises,
A hug that refuses to end too soon. Now think about the woman you are trying to reach. By the time she has lived enough life to really know herself, she has also absorbed enough disappointment to build those walls thick. She has carried grief she never named out loud. She has held herself together in rooms full of people who had no idea she was breaking. She has become so good at being strong that most people around her forgot to check if she was okay. When you wrap your arms around that woman and you simply do not let go, something happens that she cannot prepare for. Every instinct telling her to stay composed starts losing the argument. Not because she is weak, she is anything but because for the first time in longer than she can remember, someone is holding her like she does not have to hold herself. That is what this touch actually does. It does not excite her or impress her. It relieves her.
and relief, genuine, unhurried, unexpected relief, hits a mature woman deeper than any compliment ever could. So do not rush it. Count silently if you have to. Let her be the one to pull back first. Because the man who can hold on long enough to let her walls come down is the man she will keep choosing, long after she has forgotten everything else. She is not waiting for the man who says the most impressive things. She is waiting for the one who makes her feel something she stopped believing was still possible. Safety, presence, and the quiet certainty that she does not have to perform or protect herself around him. Every touch on this list carries one message underneath it. I see you. I am here. And I am not going anywhere. That is what separates the men she remembers from the men she forgets. Not looks, not money, not perfectly timed words. Intentional, aware, emotionally intelligent touch that speaks directly to the part of her she guards most carefully. Start with one. Just one.
And watch what changes. Now drop a comment below and tell me, what do you want me to break down next? Whether it's body language, attraction psychology, or something else entirely, your next answer is one comment away.